Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Oops in History. Today, we're going on a deliciously weird and slightly sticky journey into the world of ancient Egyptian junk food. Yes, you heard that right, junk food existed even thousands of years ago, though it looked, smelled, and tasted very different from what you might imagine when you think of chips, soda, or chocolate bars. Let's unravel the crunchy, sweet and sometimes questionable treats that the ancient Egyptians devoured, and trust me, some of them are both fascinating and slightly hilarious. First, imagine walking down a busy street in Thebes or Memphis, with the sun blazing and dust swirling around mud brick buildings. Street vendors are shouting their wares, carrying trays of sweet, sticky treats, fried snacks, and strangely shaped pastries. Bread, the staple of Egyptian life, often doubled as both a meal and a snack, but it wasn't always plain. Enter the world of honeyed bread and cakes, sometimes sprinkled with nuts, seeds, or dried fruits. Picture a baker carefully drizzling thick, amber honey over small rounds of soft dough, while a customer tries not to get sticky fingers on their linen tunic. Honey wasn't just a sweetener, it was a symbol of wealth, a treat for the gods, and the glue holding together some of the first ever junk food snacks. Now, bread alone doesn't quite scream junk food, so the Egyptians got creative. They made fried dough fritters, sometimes mixed with dates or figs. Vendors would fry them in hot oil or fat, and then sell them warm and slightly crispy, perfect for munching on the go. You can imagine a child in Thebes running down the street, clutching a warm, sticky fritter, while dodging donkeys and dust, laughter trailing behind them. And yes, just like today, there were probably fights over the last sweet fritter of the day, with sticky honey smeared on fingers and faces, as evidence of the battle. Sweetness was a huge part of the Egyptian palate. Dates were everywhere, not just as fruit, but crushed into pastes for cakes and candies. Imagine tiny squares of sticky, dark brown date paste, maybe rolled in nuts or seeds. These were quick energy boosts, often eaten by laborers working on the pyramids, soldiers on long marches, or even children sneaking them before supper. The stickiness of these treats was both a delight and a minor hazard, with honey dripping onto robes or mud-soled sandals as a reminder that enjoying junk food has always been a slightly messy affair. But wait, Egyptians didn't stop at sweet treats. They loved a little sour and salty too. Salted fish, small dried fish snacks, and preserved meats were the savory junk foods of the time. Street vendors might sell tiny pieces of dried fish, sometimes spiced or smoked, perfect for a quick nibble while walking or working. It's not quite potato chips, but for ancient Egyptians, it hit the same notes of convenience, flavor, and addictive crunch. You could imagine a worker cracking open a piece of dried fish, savoring the salty temps as he wiped sweat from his brow in the blazing sun. Then there's the slightly bizarre side of Egyptian junk food, fermented treats and bread with unusual additives. Egyptians experimented with different flours, fats, and sweeteners, sometimes creating bread with a sour tang or slightly unexpected flavors. Some bread might be infused with beer, a common drink at the time, giving it a slightly boozy flavor that would make modern snack enthusiasts raise an eyebrow. These foods were practical, portable, and calorie-dense, but also offered a bit of fun. Snacking in ancient Egypt was never just about survival. It was about enjoyment, curiosity, and social connection. Street life was integral to junk food culture. Vendors had trays or baskets, often balanced on heads, calling out their wares: honey cakes, date squares, fried dough, and salted fish. Children and adults alike flocked to these sellers, creating a lively, slightly chaotic scene that must have smelled like sugar, yeast, oil, and the faint tang of the Nile. Food was intertwined with celebration, religious festivals, and everyday life. Even pharaohs enjoyed sweet treats, though their junk food was more luxurious, drizzled with extra honey, decorated with nuts, or served with fruit pastes for added elegance. Now let's talk about some of the snacks that might make modern eaters go yikes, but were absolute favorites back then. Roasted locusts, crickets, and small insects were sometimes coated with honey or baked into bread. These protein-packed snacks were crunchy, portable, and surprisingly tasty to Egyptian palates. It's easy to laugh imagining a small boy chasing a roasted locust down the street, laughing and sticking bits of honey-coated bug to his fingers and tunic. Snack time was messy, social, and full of little surprises. The ancient Egyptians also enjoyed palm dates dipped in honey, sesame seeds, or fig paste. These were essentially candy bars of the ancient world, nutritious, sweet, and packed with energy. You can picture a festival scene with children tugging at parents' hands, eager to grab the last honey-dipped date before it disappears. Sticky fingers everywhere, laughter echoing through the temple courtyards. Sweetness, after all, has always been universally irresistible. And while we often think of snacks as small bites, some Egyptian junk food came in larger, shareable portions. Cakes baked with figs, honey, and nuts were sliced for sharing during festivals or family gatherings. Even the wealthiest citizens would serve trays of these treats at banquets, alongside wine and fruit, creating a decadent, sugary landscape that was both nourishing and indulgent. Imagine the scene: servants carrying trays of golden honey cakes, children darting in to grab a piece before a parent spots them. The air filled with chatter, the smell of baked dough, and sticky sweetness. Beyond sweetness and occasional sour or salty treats, the Egyptians were also surprisingly innovative with texture. Think crunchy, sticky, chewy all in one bite. Bread might be soft inside but crisp outside, fritters crunchy but gooey within, and roasted nuts added a satisfying bite. It's almost as if they intuitively understood the universal appeal of variety in snacks. Centuries before modern food scientists coined terms like mouthfeel or crunch factor. Finally, let's not forget the social aspect of junk food. Snacking was communal, shared among friends, families, and even strangers. Festivals, temple offerings, and street markets were full of opportunities to taste, trade, and compare treats. Kids learned the joy of sticky hands and laughter. Workers enjoyed quick energy boosts, and vendors perfected the art of calling out their wares with flair, drawing crowds like a modern food truck gathering. Junk food wasn't just a calorie source. It was entertainment, social glue, and a little daily indulgence in the otherwise hard life along the Nile. And that's just the beginning. This ancient snack culture was rich, messy, sweet, and sometimes a little bizarre. From honeyed bread to roasted locusts, date squares to fried dough, salted fish to fig paste. Ancient Egypt had its very own version of the junk food obsession we know today, complete with sticky fingers, laughter, and endless variety. Imagine the chaos, the smells, the laughter, and the delight of discovering a new street vendor-esque creation on a hot day in Memphis or Thebes. As we continue our journey through ancient Egyptian junk food, it's time to explore the more unusual and festive treats that made people's eyes widen and mouths water. Festivals in ancient Egypt weren't just about religious rituals. They were also prime opportunities to indulge in special snacks that were far more extravagant than everyday street food. Imagine the vibrant marketplaces during a festival, colorful linen tents, the chatter of excited children, vendors shouting about their latest honey cakes, and the tantalizing scent of roasted nuts and sweet fritters filling the air. One of the most popular festival treats was honey and date confections, shaped like animals or gods. Bakers took sticky honey and finely mashed dates, mixing in crushed nuts, and then molded the mixture into tiny figures, cows, birds, or even miniature pharaohs. Kids loved them, adults appreciated the creativity, and sometimes these treats were offered as small gifts at temples. You can picture a little boy trying to carefully carry a tiny honeyed ibis, only for it to stick to his fingers, face, and eventually his tunic, much to the amusement of his family. Street food vendors were masters of improvisation. Fried dough snacks, sometimes mixed with chickpeas or lentils, were quickly cooked over open flames and sold hot to anyone passing by. The aroma was irresistible, drawing workers from the fields, children skipping school, and even wandering nobles seeking a quick bite. Street vending wasn't just a way to sell food, it was a performance. Vendors would call out in rhythmic chants, balancing trays on their heads or carrying baskets across bustling streets, ensuring that no potential customer passed by unnoticed. And just like today, mishaps were part of the fun. Sticky honey could drip onto sandaled feet, wind might blow dust into the freshly fried fritters, or a passing donkey could bump into a vendor, sending a tray of treats tumbling. Imagine a group of children chasing after rolling date squares, laughter echoing off mud brick walls, while a harried vendor scowls, yet smiles, knowing this chaotic energy was part of daily life. Food wasn't just sustenance, it was entertainment, interaction, and sometimes comedy in motion. Savory snacks also played a crucial role in Egyptian junk food culture. Salted or dried fish was a common treat for those on the go. Workers heading to construction sites or sailors prepping for river journeys would often nibble on small strips of dried fish, sometimes enhanced with mild spices or herbs. The chewy texture and salty flavor made them addictive, much like how modern snack lovers can't resist jerky or salted nuts. Even minor mishaps, like a piece sticking to a tunic or crumbs scattering on the dusty road, were accepted as part of the snacking experience. The ancient Egyptians also enjoyed chewy fig rolls and date pastes as quick energy boosters. Imagine a laborer carrying a small, sticky bundle of date paste in his hand, nibbling on it while walking along the Nile, sweat dripping from his brow, and children darting past him, laughing as they snatched the last bites from vendors' trays. These treats were portable, calorie-dense, and perfect for long, hot days. They might not have been individually wrapped like modern candy bars, but the satisfaction and energy boost were just as real. Sweet and savory combinations were common too. Some vendors created honey-glazed nuts or seeds, combining crunch and sweetness in one bite. Roasted sesame seeds drizzled with honey or a touch of oil provided flavor, texture, and a satisfying snack that could be eaten on the move. Street life was all about this mix. Bustling crowds, the aroma of baked dough, roasted nuts, honeyed fruits, and sizzling fried dough creating a multi-sensory experience that both nourished and entertained. Then there were the festival cakes, sometimes enormous in size, meant for sharing among families or community gatherings. These were often rich with honey, nuts, dried fruits, and occasionally infused with herbs or spices. Imagine a family gathered under a palm tree, slicing into a sticky honey and date cake, laughing as syrup drips onto sand, and children sneaking extra pieces before anyone notices. Festivals transformed ordinary snacking into an event full of joy, communal sharing, and indulgence. Ancient Egyptian junk food was also surprisingly innovative in presentation. Street vendors would arrange treats in vibrant patterns or small piles, almost like edible art, to entice buyers. Honey cakes shaped like flowers, date rolls lined neatly in baskets, and small roasted nuts scattered in geometric patterns drew customers' eyes and tempted their taste buds. Even the act of purchasing became a social interaction, choosing a treat, chatting with a vendor, and sharing snacks with friends or family along the way. And of course, children were the experts in chaos. Sticky fingers, laughter, and playful competition over the last treat were everyday scenes. A kid might try to grab a honeyed date while balancing on one foot, or chase a friend who snagged a fried fritter first. Parents would smile, sometimes scolding gently, but mostly letting the sticky, messy fun unfold. The joy of eating was as much about taste as it was about experience, play, and memory-making. Even in noble households, junk food had a place. Pharaohs and high-ranking officials enjoyed elaborate versions of these snacks. Honey cakes decorated with nuts, dried fruits, or even edible gold leaf. Servants would carry trays of these indulgent treats through palace corridors, while children, attendants, and visiting dignitaries admired, smelled, and nibbled on the sticky creations. The essence of snacking joy, sweetness, and small indulgence remained universal, bridging social classes and connecting people through taste. Finally, ancient Egyptian junk food culture reminds us that indulgence and creativity are timeless. From street vendors balancing trays on their heads to festival cakes shared under the sun, honeyed treats, sticky date rolls, fried dough, roasted nuts, and even sticky mishaps were part of the everyday experience. Life along the Nile was filled with flavor, chaos, laughter, and inventive snacks that could be carried, shared, and enjoyed by all. Snack time wasn't just about survival. It was fun, messy, and full of personality, proving that humans have always found ways to combine nourishment with delight, even thousands of years ago. As we wander further into the deliciously sticky and chaotic world of ancient Egyptian junk food, it becomes clear that the markets themselves were an essential part of the snacking experience. Street vendors weren't just selling food, they were curating a sensory adventure. Imagine a bustling street in Thebes, the sun beating down, mud brick walls glowing golden, and carts stacked high with honey cakes, fig rolls, roasted nuts, and fritters. Each vendor had a little show to attract customers. Some would chant, others would toss treats into the air, letting children catch them with sticky, eager hands. The act of buying food was as much entertainment as it was nourishment. One of the most amusing and slightly chaotic sights was children navigating sticky streets, Picture a group of kids darting past vendors, each clutching a honeyed date or fritter. Honey dripped onto sandaled feet, spreading dust and creating tiny sticky footprints along the way. Parents attempted to maintain order, but most times they gave up in favor of laughter. Even laborers or traders passing by couldn't help but smile at the chaotic joy. The sticky hands, the small battles over who got the last treat from a vendor's tray. Snack time in ancient Egypt was as much about community, mischief, and fun as it was about taste. Now, let's talk about some of the weirder snacks that might make modern eaters raise an eyebrow. Ancient Egyptians loved roasted locusts, grasshoppers, and beetles. These weren't just for survival, they were sometimes coated with honey or baked into bread to make them slightly sweet and crunchy. Imagine a vendor carefully lining up tiny roasted insects, offering them as high-protein, energy-boosting snacks for workers and travelers. To modern eyes, it might seem bizarre, but to an Egyptian laborer, a honey-coated locust was a tasty and portable treat that kept hunger at bay during long hours of work on the Nile or pyramid construction. Then there were fig-filled pastries, often fried or baked, sometimes with added honey or sesame seeds for flavor and texture. Street vendors would serve them warm, golden, and slightly sticky, tempting passers-by with their aroma. Children and adults alike would pause, momentarily distracted from their errands, drawn to the irresistible smell and taste. Sticky fingers, laughs, and small spills were all part of the experience, messy, chaotic, and delightful. Another quirky snack was small cakes made with unusual flours or additives, sometimes including lentils, chickpeas, or even dates mashed into the dough. These snacks were nutritious, portable, and perfect for anyone on the go. You can imagine a traveler or laborer unwrapping a small bundle of these cakes, taking bites while balancing on uneven mud paths, and occasionally dropping crumbs, only to watch local children scramble to collect the small treasures. The street itself became part of the snacking ritual, full of movement, laughter, and occasional chaos. Street culture also included tiny roasted nuts, seeds, and even spiced legumes, sold in little woven baskets. These were perfect for nibbling on the move. Imagine a vendor shaking a basket of roasted chickpeas, letting a few spill to entice customers, while a child eagerly reaches for one, only to have a sibling snatch it first. These moments of playful competition and sticky fingers were universal, a reminder that snacking has always been an interactive, sometimes messy, and always communal activity. Now, sweets weren't just about bread or dates, they also came in liquid forms. Egyptians enjoyed thick, honeyed drinks, sometimes mixed with fruits, giving a sugary sip alongside a sticky bite of bread or fritter. Imagine a vendor offering a small cup of sweetened date juice to a customer buying a fritter, both hands sticky, the aroma of honey thick in the air, and laughter echoing through the busy street. Every snack, drink, and small indulgence was a tiny adventure, a combination of taste, texture, and social interaction. The festival culture also added to the fun. Special occasions brought larger, more extravagant sweets. Think honey cakes decorated with nuts, figs, and small charms or symbols of gods. Families and neighbors would gather, sharing pieces, laughing, and trading bites. Sticky hands and playful messes were celebrated, not scolded. The communal joy of snacking, the chaos of distribution, and the sheer delight in taste were amplified during these events, making food an experience beyond mere sustenance. Even the preparation of these snacks could be slightly humorous. Bakers and street vendors sometimes had small mishaps, dough sticking to hands, honey dripping into sand, or small rodents trying to steal treats. Children might try to sneak pieces before baking was finished, or siblings compete to grab the largest fig roll. Vendors learned to laugh at these small moments, understanding that the chaos added charm, community, and life to the streets. And let's not forget the smell factor. Honey, roasted nuts, figs, and fried dough combined to create an aromatic landscape that was irresistible. It wasn't just about what you could taste, it was about what you could smell. The anticipation, the sticky excitement of carrying treats home, sharing them with family, or sneaking bites while no one was looking. Food in ancient Egypt was as much about the senses as it was about calories or nutrition. Finally, Egyptian junk food culture shows us that snacking has always been an interactive, joyful, and slightly chaotic experience. Sticky fingers, sweet smells, savory nibbles, roasted insects, festival cakes, and street-side antics all contributed to a lively food culture that combined necessity, creativity, and pleasure. Life along the Nile was rich, messy, flavorful, and full of small, delightful indulgences that connected people, families, and communities. The joy of food, the chaos of streets, and the creativity of snacks remind us that human beings have always found ways to combine nourishment with play, humor, and shared delight. As we drift deeper into the sweet, sticky, and sometimes slightly bizarre world of ancient Egyptian junk food, it's impossible to ignore the role of temples and religious offerings in the snacking culture. Food wasn't just for eating, it was also for appeasing gods, celebrating festivals, and showing devotion. Imagine a temple bustling with priests, worshippers, and festival-goers, all offering or receiving tiny honeyed cakes, sweetened bread, and fig treats. The aroma of honey, roasted nuts, and fresh-baked goods would mingle with incense, creating a sensory experience that was as spiritual as it was delicious. Temple offerings often included specially crafted sweets. Bakers would prepare miniature cakes shaped like animals, gods, or symbolic motifs, often coated in honey or adorned with sesame seeds. These treats weren't just decorative, they were shared among the faithful after rituals or festivals, bridging the sacred and the savory. Picture a small child carefully receiving a honeyed bird-shaped cake from a priest, sticky fingers clasping it tightly, eyes wide with delight, while parents look on with smiles. Even in sacred spaces, junk food had its role. Fun, indulgence, and communal enjoyment were intertwined with devotion. Now, let's move from temples to noble indulgences, where junk food took a more luxurious turn. Pharaohs, officials, and wealthy citizens enjoyed snacks that were richer, sweeter, and more elaborate than those found on the streets. Honey cakes might be decorated with nuts, dates, or even edible gold, while small pastries were filled with fig paste or crushed seeds. Servants would carry trays of these treats through palace corridors, making sure that every guest, child, and visiting official got their share. Imagine a noble feast, trays of golden honey cakes, roasted nuts, and date rolls being passed around, with children sneaking extra pieces under the tables, laughter mingling with the clinking of cups. Festival chaos added another layer of excitement and messiness. Streets overflowed with vendors, families, and animals, each vying for a taste of the best treats. Sticky honey dripping onto sandaled feet, children chasing rolls that had tumbled to the ground, and parents laughing at their messy little ones were common sights. The joy of the festival wasn't just in the sights or sounds, it was in the sticky, sweet chaos of food, shared indulgence, and playful competition. Snack time was alive, interactive, and messy in the best way possible. And speaking of animals, don't forget the role of pets and small animals in this sticky world. Cats prowled the streets, occasionally snatching a stray fig or fritter, while dogs lay nearby, hoping for a dropped treat. Even chickens or ducks wandering through markets added to the unpredictable chaos. Imagine a child running after a sticky date, only to have a cat leap and grab it mid-air, prompting a squeal and laughter from nearby adults. Junk food wasn't just about taste, it was an interactive, sensory, and slightly mischievous experience. Luxury snacks also included specialty breads infused with honey, dates, and herbs, baked in elaborate shapes. Some were round, some triangular, some even molded to resemble the gods themselves. These breads were often shared during religious ceremonies, family celebrations, or festivals, turning each bite into both nourishment and small ritual. Picture a baker carefully arranging a tray of these sticky, sweet creations, hoping that no child sneaks a piece before the festival begins. And then there were festival sweets sold in bulk, meant to feed crowds of workers, pilgrims, or festival goers. Large honey cakes were sliced into pieces, nuts were roasted in giant cauldrons, and figs were rolled into sticky bundles. Imagine the chaos. Sticky hands grabbing pieces, children darting around, parents laughing, and vendors shouting to be heard over the hum of excitement. Every festival became a celebration of food, laughter, and the slightly messy delight of shared indulgence. But not all snacks were sweet. Savory treats like roasted chickpeas, salted fish, and spiced legumes were also sold during festivals and temple gatherings. These provided a welcome contrast to honeyed cakes and sticky date rolls, offering crunch, saltiness, and portable energy. Street vendors were experts at balancing flavors, aromas, and textures to keep everyone coming back for more. Picture a vendor juggling trays of sweet and savory snacks, while children and adults alike eagerly snack their favorite bites. One amusing aspect of festival snacking was the unexpected mishaps. Honey cakes sticking together, roasted nuts spilling to the ground, a child tripping and sending fig rolls flying. It was all part of the fun. These chaotic moments added laughter, unpredictability, and a touch of human imperfection to an otherwise delicious scene. Parents, vendors, and onlookers often paused to watch, chuckle, and sometimes join in retrieving the runaway treats. Luxury and simplicity coexisted beautifully in ancient Egyptian junk food culture. A noble's honey cake, decorated with gold leaf and nuts, might sit next to a street child's sticky date roll, both providing joy, sweetness, and a momentary escape from daily routines. Festivals, temple offerings, and daily street snacking all shared the same essence: delight in taste, texture, and shared experience. Finally, the creativity of Egyptian bakers and vendors shines through. From animal-shaped confections to honey-drizzled pastries, from sticky date rolls to savory roasted legumes, snack culture was vibrant, playful, and sometimes messy. Children, adults, nobles, and priests alike participated, creating a lively, communal, and sensory-rich experience that made snacking more than just a way to quell hunger. It was a celebration of life, flavor, and small indulgences. By the end of the festival, streets were sticky, laughter echoed through alleyways, children's hands and faces bore the evidence of indulgence, and vendors packed up their remaining treats, already planning tomorrow's creations. In ancient Egypt, junk food wasn't just about calories, it was a social, playful, and messy art form, filled with sweetness, chaos, and community connection. As the sun climbs higher over the bustling streets of Thebes, the smell of street snacks and festival treats fills the air, blending with dust, incense, and the occasional whiff of the Nile. Vendors shout, balancing trays and baskets filled with sticky, sweet, or savory snacks, each trying to capture the attention of passersby. Imagine the energy, the smells, and the chaos all forming a living, breathing tapestry of flavor and entertainment. Children were the true connoisseurs of snack chaos. They darted between legs, climbed low walls, and occasionally tugged on a vendor's skirt, all in pursuit of a honeyed date, a sticky fig roll, or a small fried fritter. Their fingers were invariably sticky, faces smudged with honey, laughter spilling into the streets like a chorus. Adults couldn't help but smile at the antics, sometimes joining in, sometimes shaking heads in mock exasperation. Snack time was as much about play, interaction, and community as it was about taste. Bizarre snacks continued to dominate the streets. Roasted locusts and grasshoppers coated in honey, for example, were a high-protein treat, crunchy, slightly sweet, and surprisingly addictive. Imagine a worker grabbing one for a quick bite while heading to a construction site, his fingers sticky with honey, a child nearby daring him to eat another, laughter mingling with the hum of the marketplace. Even nobles might sneak a roasted insect from a vendor, finding amusement in the simplicity and portability of this unusual snack. Sticky treats were everywhere. Honey-drenched cakes, fig rolls, and date pastes lined trays, tempting buyers with their aroma and sheen. Vendors might demonstrate the flexibility of a particularly sticky date roll, stretching it from one hand to the other, enticing passersby with playful antics. Children would gasp, parents would chuckle, and everyone had the chance to be part of this small theatrical display. It wasn't just a purchase, it was an experience. Portable snacks were crucial. Workers, travelers, and even priests needed food they could carry. Fritters, small honey cakes, and roasted nuts served this purpose perfectly. They were easy to hold, didn't require utensils, and provided enough energy to sustain a busy day. Imagine a laborer unwrapping a sticky fritter mid-step, dust clinging to honeyed fingers, children trying to snatch a piece, and a nearby vendor shaking their head in mock disbelief. These snacks were part food, part performance, part community entertainment. The sensory experience of ancient Egyptian junk food was unlike anything today. Textures and aromas played a huge role. Crunchy roasted seeds contrasted with soft, sticky fig rolls. Sweet honey cakes mingled with the savory tang of dried fish or spiced legumes. The air was a tapestry of scents: warm baked dough, sticky sweetness, roasted nuts, and occasionally the earthy tang of the Nile. Eating was a full sensory adventure, involving smell, taste, touch, and even sight as colorful treats piled high on trays and baskets caught the eye. Mishaps were part of the fun. Honey would drip onto sandals or dirt paths. Fig rolls might fall to the ground, and children often engaged in playful battles over the last treat. Imagine a small boy running with a sticky date, a friend attempting to snatch it mid-stride, and a cat leaping into the fray, grabbing a piece and scurrying away. Laughter erupted from all corners. Vendors chuckled, and the streets became a lively playground where food, fun, and chaos intertwined. Festival snacks added layers of complexity. Giant honey cakes sliced for sharing, roasted nuts in large cauldrons, and bundles of fig rolls created a sticky wonderland for anyone wandering through the streets. Families shared, children traded, and strangers were drawn together over sweet bites. Every festival was an exercise in community, indulgence, and messy delight. Sticky hands, dripping honey, and scattered crumbs were all part of the joyful sensory overload. Even mundane streets had moments of indulgence. Street-side, nibbling of roasted legumes, salted fish, or small honey cakes allowed people to enjoy brief moments of pleasure amidst daily toil. A worker might pause mid-task to savor a bite of fig paste. A child might steal a honey cake before a sibling notices, or a noble passing through might secretly enjoy a roasted locust from a vendor, amused by the simple pleasures. Junk food was universal, enjoyed across social classes, binding people together through taste, texture, and shared delight. In short, ancient Egyptian junk food culture was messy, interactive, and delightfully chaotic. Sticky honey, sweet figs, roasted insects, fritters, nuts, and festival cakes weren't just about nourishment, they were about play, community, and sensory indulgence. The streets were alive with laughter, sticky hands, and the smells of baking, roasting, and frying, creating a world where snacking was both essential and wonderfully entertaining. The joy of food extended beyond the streets. Families brought snacks home, sharing them during meals, leisure, and storytelling. Sticky fingers were washed in the Nile, crumbs were swept into corners, and children's laughter continued, echoing the same delight found in bustling market streets. Ancient Egyptians understood the power of food to connect, entertain, and delight, whether in a crowded marketplace, a temple, or a simple family courtyard. By the end of a typical day, honey might have dripped on garments, figs scattered across sandy paths, and roasted locusts left behind as evidence of indulgence. But the smiles, laughter, and sticky memories made every mishap worthwhile. Junk food in ancient Egypt wasn't just calories, it was joy, creativity, humor, and shared experience, binding communities through taste and texture, just as it does today. As we wander further into the world of ancient Egyptian junk food, it's impossible to ignore the exotic and elaborate snacks associated with temples and the royal households. While street treats were sticky, chaotic, and playful, temple snacks had a ceremonial flair, blending indulgence with symbolism. Imagine the corridors of a grand temple, where priests carefully arranged trays of honeyed cakes, fig rolls, and date pastes, each shaped with precision, sometimes molded to resemble gods, sacred animals, or symbols of fertility. The aroma of fresh-baked goods mingled with incense, creating an atmosphere that was at once sacred and deliciously tempting. Temple snacks often incorporated unusual ingredients. For instance, sesame seeds were sometimes mixed with honey to create crunchy, sweet clusters, while figs and dates were mashed into pastes and shaped into intricate forms. Occasionally, small amounts of aromatic herbs were added, giving the sweets subtle flavors that elevated them beyond simple snacks. These delicacies weren't just about taste, they were offerings to deities, tokens of devotion, and a way to participate in religious rituals. Picture a young acolyte carefully carrying a honeyed ibis-shaped cake, hoping not to smear the sticky sweetness on the temple's sacred floors, while another child sneaks a taste, giggling at the forbidden indulgence. Royal indulgences, meanwhile, were a level above street or temple treats. Pharaohs and high-ranking officials had access to luxurious versions of common snacks. Imagine honey cakes adorned with finely chopped nuts, dates, figs, and even edible gold leaf, arranged on gilded trays. These cakes weren't just food, they were status symbols, demonstrating wealth, creativity, and the ability to indulge in the finest flavors. Servants would carry these treasures through palace corridors, while nobles and visiting dignitaries admired, smelled, and nibbled on the sticky delights, sometimes sneaking extra pieces when the eyes of adults were elsewhere. Festival rituals added another layer of excitement. During temple celebrations, crowds gathered to witness processions of food, where sweets were offered, sampled, and sometimes shared among the faithful. Large honey cakes were sliced into pieces for distribution. Roasted nuts were handed out in small pouches, and sticky fig rolls were carefully portioned. Imagine the joy of receiving a small piece of a honey cake shaped like an ibis or a scarab, sticky fingers clasping the treat, laughter ringing through temple courtyards, and the scent of baking mingling with incense smoke. Every snack was a bridge between the sacred and the everyday, indulgence and ritual, delight and devotion. Preparation techniques for these snacks were both practical and artful. Bakers and confectioners used rudimentary molds, presses, and carving tools to shape honeyed cakes, figs, and bread into precise forms. Frying and baking required careful timing, especially when dealing with sticky honey and delicate pastes. Imagine a baker carefully flipping a honey-drenched fritter over a hot stone or stirring a pot of roasted nuts, all while ensuring nothing burned or stuck too firmly to the vessel. The craft of snack making was both a science and an art, requiring dexterity, patience, and a healthy respect for sticky fingers. Exotic ingredients sometimes made these snacks even more memorable. In addition to honey, dates, figs, and sesame seeds, bakers occasionally used fragrant oils, rare herbs, and small quantities of preserved fruits. These elements added flavor, aroma, and an element of luxury that distinguished temple or royal. Snacks from everyday street treats. Picture the delight of a visitor tasting a fig roll infused with a fragrant herb. The sticky sweetness balanced by subtle aromatic notes, making the experience unforgettable. Temple snacks also played a role in community interaction. Children, families, and pilgrims often gathered to share treats, comparing shapes, flavors, and textures. Sticky fingers were common, laughter was abundant, and minor mishaps like a honeyed cake sticking to a tunic were taken in stride. The act of sharing these snacks reinforced social bonds, created joyful memories, and offered a sense of participation in both religious and communal life. The royal kitchens were a spectacle of indulgence. Slaves and servants moved efficiently, preparing vast quantities of honeyed cakes, date rolls, fritters, and roasted nuts for festivals, banquets, and daily palace life. Imagine trays of sticky treats being transported through grand halls, children and nobles sampling along the way, the air thick with the aroma of honey, roasted sesame, and fresh-baked bread. Even small mishaps, like a dropped cake or a spilled pot of honey, became part of the palace's lively food culture. Festival rituals extended this indulgence beyond the palace. Streets, marketplaces, and temple courtyards overflowed with sticky delights, where families and strangers alike indulged in honey cakes, roasted nuts, and fritters. The interaction of sweetness, aroma, texture, and community created a multi-sensory experience that was both nourishing and entertaining. Sticky hands, crumbs on sandaled feet, and laughter echoing through the streets made every bite memorable. Finally, these temple and royal snacks highlight the timeless appeal of indulgence, creativity, and shared enjoyment. Sticky honey, sweet figs, roasted nuts, intricate shapes, and aromatic herbs transformed snacking into a ceremonial, playful, and social experience. From street vendors to temple offerings to royal indulgences, ancient Egyptian junk food was a bridge between daily life and ritual, ordinary and luxurious, messy and memorable. The culture of sweet, sticky, and savory treats reflected the Egyptians' love for flavor, texture, artistry, and shared delight, reminding us that snacking has always been a universal, communal joy. As the sun dips lower over the Nile, the streets of ancient Egyptian cities are alive with vibrant street food activity. Vendors balance baskets and trays on their heads, calling out in rhythmic chants, hoping to entice passers-by with the sweet and savory delights they carry. Imagine the aromas wafting through the air: honeyed bread, roasted nuts, fried fritters, and the occasional whiff of spiced fish mingling with dust and incense, creating a symphony of scents that makes your stomach rumble in anticipation. Children, of course, are the ultimate connoisseurs of chaos and indulgence. Sticky fingers, eager eyes, and playful competition define their daily interaction with snacks. A small boy might dart past a vendor, clutching a sticky date roll, while a friend tries to snatch it mid-run. Honey drips onto sandaled feet, dust clings to sticky fingers, and laughter echoes through the streets. Adults smile, sometimes sigh, and sometimes join in the fun, creating a lively atmosphere, where snack time is as much about entertainment as it is about nourishment. Street vendors, themselves, are masters of creativity and improvisation. They sell honey cakes, fig rolls, fried dough fritters, roasted nuts, and even spiced legumes, arranging them in visually appealing piles or trays to attract attention. Some used small demonstrations to show the flexibility or texture of a treat, stretching sticky date rolls between hands or tossing fritters gently into the air to catch customers' eyes. It's almost like performance art, but edible, and everyone is invited to participate. Portable snacks dominate the streets. Workers, travelers, priests, and children all need something quick, energy-packed, and easy to carry. Honey cakes, small fritters, roasted nuts, and fig rolls fit the bill perfectly. Imagine a laborer unwrapping a sticky date paste roll mid-step, a child darting past to snatch a small piece, and a vendor shaking their head in mock exasperation. Every bite, spill, and sticky hand is part of the vibrant, interactive experience of snacking in ancient Egypt. The unusual combinations of flavors are worth noting. Sweet and savory often collide in deliciously unexpected ways. Imagine honey-drizzled roasted chickpeas, date-filled fritters dusted with sesame seeds, or fried dough mixed with nuts and herbs. The Egyptians were masters of balancing flavor, texture, and portability, creating snacks that were not only tasty but also practical for busy streets and festival crowds. Festival treats add an extra layer of indulgence. Streets overflow with giant honey cakes sliced into shareable pieces, roasted nuts in cauldrons, sticky fig rolls bundled for distribution, and the aroma of baking filling every corner. Families, children, and even passing travelers participate in the communal joy, laughter ringing out as sticky fingers grab pieces, honey drips onto sandaled feet, and children playfully squabble over the last fritter on a tray. Spilled honey, toppled trays, or runaway date rolls become part of the entertainment, much to the amusement of vendors and bystanders alike. Street food culture in ancient Egypt wasn't just about sustenance, it was social, playful, and interactive. Vendors engaged with their customers, demonstrating treats, offering samples, and sometimes participating in minor chases after runaway snacks. Children learned the joy of negotiation, anticipation, and playful mischief, while adults appreciated the ingenuity and artistry of the vendors. Snack time was a theater of scent, texture, taste, and laughter, unfolding in the open-air streets, lined with mud-brick buildings and the shimmering Nile in the distance. Even the humble roasted insect played a role in this vibrant food culture. Honey-coated locusts, crunchy grasshoppers, and small roasted beetles provided portable protein-packed snacks, sometimes enjoyed by workers, travelers, or even curious children daring to try something unusual. Imagine a child gingerly picking up a honey-coated locust, inspecting it with wide eyes, and finally biting down with a mixture of trepidation and delight, laughter following the successful crunch. These snacks weren't just practical, they were part of the playful, slightly bizarre side of street life. Sticky treats continued to dominate, with honeyed cakes, date pastes, and fried fritters providing energy, flavor, and entertainment. Vendors might toss a sticky date roll to a waiting child, only for it to stick to the roof of a marketplace stall, prompting a scramble, laughter, and a bit of friendly chaos. The interaction of sweet, sticky food with human curiosity, mischief, and hunger created a living theater of snack enjoyment, alive with unpredictability and delight. Portable, sweet, and savory snacks, festival treats, and unusual ingredients, these all came together to create a rich, sensory, and playful snacking culture. Sticky fingers, dripped honey, scattered nuts, runaway fritters, and laughter defined the streets. From the bustling marketplace to the quieter back alleys, every corner offered a chance to taste, interact, and experience the joyful chaos of ancient Egyptian junk food. In essence, seventh chunk snacking in ancient Egypt was a blend of practicality, indulgence, and entertainment. Sticky, sweet, savory, crunchy, chewy, aromatic, and occasionally bizarre. These treats were more than just sustenance, they were a way to connect, to play, and to celebrate life's small delights, proving that the human love of snacks and chaos is truly timeless. As the day drifts lazily toward evening, the streets and marketplaces of ancient Egypt are still buzzing with the aromas and chaos of snacking. Sticky honey drips from hands, sand clings to fallen figs, and children chase after runaway fritters with gleeful abandon. It's a scene that blends humor, indulgence, and sensory delight, a testament to how integral food was to both daily life and community culture. Sticky treats were everywhere, from honey-drenched cakes to date pastes and fig rolls. Vendors displayed their goods with care, stacking treats in colorful arrangements, tossing small pieces to entice buyers, and calling out their specialties with rhythmic chants. Each bite was a multi-sensory experience: the sweetness of honey, the chewiness of dates, the crunch of sesame seeds, and the subtle aroma of herbs mingling with the dusty streets. Even the act of purchasing food became a playful event, full of anticipation, minor mishaps, and joyful interaction. Royal banquets offered a more elaborate version of this sticky indulgence. Pharaohs and nobles enjoyed trays of honey cakes, fig rolls, roasted nuts, and fritters, often decorated with intricate patterns or gilded with edible gold. Imagine a noble child sneaking a bite from a golden honey cake, the sticky sweetness clinging to fingers, while attendants pretended not to notice, smiling at the mischievous delight. Even in grand palaces, the playful chaos of snacking sticky hands, crumbs on lavish floors, and small spills was a charming constant. Community indulgences were equally important. Festivals, temple offerings, and street markets all encouraged sharing and interaction. Families and neighbors exchanged sticky treats, children competed playfully for the last pieces, and strangers bonded over bites of honey-drenched bread or roasted legumes. Food became a medium of connection, bridging social divides and creating a shared sensory experience filled with taste, texture, and laughter. Festival chaos added extra layers of excitement. Giant honey cakes, sliced for sharing, bundles of fig rolls, roasted nuts in large cauldrons, and fried fritters stacked high, provided both nourishment and entertainment. Children dashed between families and vendors, sticky fingers grabbing pieces, honey dripping onto sandaled feet, laughter echoing through alleyways. Mishaps spilled trays, sticky footprints, and runaway treats were part of the charm, reinforcing the lively, interactive nature of snacking in ancient Egypt. Even the most unusual ingredients contributed to this sensory playground. Honey-coated locusts, spiced legumes, fried dough mixed with nuts and herbs, and fig rolls infused with subtle flavors delighted taste buds while providing energy for work, play, or travel. The streets, palaces, and temples became living stages where food, interaction, and community merged into a playful performance of taste, texture, and indulgence. Sticky treats weren't limited to street life. Portable snacks allowed workers, travelers, and priests to enjoy sweetness and energy on the go. Imagine a laborer carrying a small bundle of date paste, nibbling on it while walking along the Nile. Sticky fingers clinging to dust, children darting past to snatch a piece, and vendors laughing at the predictable chaos. These snacks were practical, enjoyable, and an essential part of daily life. Royal indulgence and street chaos sometimes intersected in fascinating ways. A festival near the palace might see children sneaking golden honey cakes from trays, street vendors offering their goods to nobles, and families sharing their treats with neighbors. Sticky fingers, laughter, and playful competition blurred the lines between social classes, creating a rich tapestry of communal enjoyment centered on food. The sensory richness of ancient Egyptian snacking culture is remarkable. Sweetness, crunchiness, chewiness, stickiness, and aroma all converged to create memorable experiences. Even minor mishaps, honey dripping onto garments, nuts scattering across the street, or a runaway fig roll added charm, humor, and shared stories to the act of eating. Food was not just nourishment, it was entertainment, community bonding, and a form of artistic expression. By evening, streets, marketplaces, temples, and even palace corridors carried the evidence of indulgence: sticky hands, scattered crumbs, dripped honey, and the lingering aroma of roasted nuts and sweet figs. Children laughed, adults chuckled, and vendors began to pack away their remaining treats. Already planning tomorrow's creations, Ancient Egyptian junk food wasn't merely about calories or sustenance, it was a living, playful, sticky celebration of creativity, indulgence, and shared delight. On the end, sticky treats, royal banquets, community indulgences, festival chaos, and sensory experiences remind us that ancient Egyptians understood something timeless. Food is more than sustenance. It's joy, connection, and shared experience. Every bite, spill, and sticky finger was part of a culture that cherished indulgence, creativity, and playful human interaction. As night slowly approaches over the Nile, the energy in ancient Egyptian cities doesn't fade, it shifts. Festival deserts, street snacks, and palace indulgences continue to dominate the senses, creating a lively, sweet-smelling tapestry that envelops every passerby. Imagine streets buzzing with activity, children chasing runaway fig rolls, vendors calling out their wares, honey dripping from sticky hands, and the scent of roasted nuts and fresh baked goods filling the air. Every corner, every stall, and every courtyard seems to hum with anticipation and delight. Festival desserts are a particularly playful spectacle. Giant honey cakes, date rolls, sesame clusters, and fritters are sliced, bundled, and handed out to families and festival goers. Children compete for the largest piece, parents laugh at the inevitable sticky mess, and sometimes a cat or dog opportunistically steals a dropped treat, prompting squeals and laughter. Every snack, every spill, and every playful scramble becomes part of the festival's charm, blending indulgence with community interaction and shared delight. Street chaos adds another layer of excitement. Vendors balance towering stacks of sticky treats, calling out with rhythmic chants to attract customers. Honey cakes stick together, fig rolls tumble from trays, and roasted nuts spill across sandy paths, all while children and adults dart between the stalls, grabbing favorite snacks. The streets become a living theater of taste, texture, and playful mishaps, where every sticky finger and spilled morsel is part of the entertainment. Royal kitchens, meanwhile, operate on a different scale, but with the same playful spirit. Servants and bakers move efficiently, preparing vast quantities of honey cakes, fritters, roasted nuts, and festival desserts for palace banquets and temple offerings. Imagine trays of golden honey cakes being carried through grand halls, children sneaking bites when the adults aren't looking, and the air thick with the aroma of sticky sweetness and roasting ingredients. Even in these more formal settings, minor mishaps like a dropped cake or spilled honey add charm and humor to palace life. Playful mischief is a constant companion to snacking. Children dart between stalls, families, and courtyards, sticky fingers reaching for figs, honey cakes, or fritters. Occasionally, a bundle of treats might slip, sending honey-drenched snacks rolling down streets or palace corridors, sparking a chase that blends fun, chaos, and laughter. Vendors, parents, and even nobles often pause to enjoy these unpredictable moments, recognizing that the playful energy is part of what makes snacking so memorable. Sticky treats dominate. From honey-drenched cakes to fig pastes and date rolls, the multi-sensory experience sweetness, chewiness, crunchiness, aroma, and sight creates moments that are both nourishing and delightful. Eating is an interactive experience, sharing bites, comparing flavors, and reacting to minor mishaps. Even the simplest snack, like a roasted nut or sesame cluster, contributes to a communal sense of enjoyment, bonding people together through shared indulgence. Festival chaos, royal indulgence, and street play converge beautifully during temple celebrations and public feasts. Large honey cakes are portioned for crowds, roasted nuts are handed out, and sticky fig rolls are distributed for everyone to enjoy. Children laugh, adults smile, and the streets, courtyards, and halls become stages for interaction, play, and joy. Mishaps, sticky floors, spilled nuts, runaway cakes only enhance the sensory experience, creating memories that linger long after the festival ends. Even unusual snacks find their place. Honey-coated locusts, fried dough fritters mixed with nuts, spiced legumes, and sticky date rolls delight taste buds while offering energy, nutrition, and amusement. Children dare each other to try roasted insects. Parents observe with a mix of amusement and pride, and vendors encourage experimentation, blending curiosity with culinary tradition. These snacks provide a playful, slightly bizarre dimension to the bustling streets and ceremonial spaces of ancient Egypt. By nightfall, Sticky hands, scattered crumbs, dripped honey, and the aroma of roasted nuts and baked treats fill homes, streets, and palaces. Children, adults, and vendors alike reflect on the day's indulgences, their laughter and joy echoing in every corner. Ancient Egyptian junk food wasn't simply about sustenance, it was a celebration of creativity, community, humor, and sensory pleasure. Every spill, every bite, and every sticky finger contributed to a culture that valued indulgence and shared delight. The combination of festival desserts, street chaos, royal kitchens, and playful mischief shows a timeless truth. Snacking is as much about interaction, entertainment, and community as it is about flavor and nourishment. Honey cakes, fig rolls, fritters, roasted nuts, and sticky treats provided sustenance. Yes, but also laughter, sensory engagement, and moments of joy that connected people across streets, palaces, and temples. As the sun continues its slow descent over the Nile, the ancient streets come alive with children's antics and sticky deserts. Every corner, alleyway, and courtyard seems to hum with energy, sticky hands clinging to honey cakes, crumbs scattered across dusty paths, and laughter echoing from every side. It's a lively, playful atmosphere where the joy of snacking is as much about entertainment as it is about taste. Children, of course, are at the heart of this chaos. They dash between stalls, tug at parents' robes, and sneak bites from vendors' trays whenever possible. Honey-drenched figs and sticky date rolls are often their prizes, and minor spills like a dropped fritter or a honey-coated finger are celebrated with squeals, giggles, and playful shrieks. Even pets occasionally join in. Cats leap for a stray treat, dogs bark at runaway morsels, and birds peck at whatever crumbs they can reach. The city itself becomes a theater of sticky, sweet delight. Temple feasts provide another layer of indulgence. Priests and worshippers partake in elaborate desserts prepared for religious ceremonies, where honeyed cakes are shaped like scarabs, figs are rolled into artistic bundles, and roasted nuts are sprinkled with fragrant herbs. Imagine a child carefully observing a priest distributing honey cakes, sneaking small tastes when the adult's attention drifts, or a young acolyte balancing trays of sticky treats while trying not to drop anything. These moments blend sacred ritual with everyday joy, showing that indulgence and devotion often walked hand in hand. Exotic ingredients further enriched these treats. Honey, dates, figs, and sesame seeds were staples, but rare herbs, oils, and preserved fruits were sometimes added for flavor and aroma. The resulting desserts were fragrant, sweet, and occasionally surprising, each bite offering not just nourishment, but a miniature adventure for the senses. Imagine a worker taking a cautious bite of a fig roll infused with aromatic herbs, smiling as flavors unfold unexpectedly, while children nearby watch eagerly, curious to try a taste themselves. Market adventures continued well into the evening. Vendors displayed sticky treats, fritters, roasted nuts, and exotic delicacies with flair, tossing small samples to entice buyers. Streets were alive with the sound of laughter, playful arguments over who gets the last piece, and vendors' rhythmic calls. Honey might drip onto sandals, figs roll along dusty paths, and roasted nuts spill from baskets, but each mishap only added charm, humor, and a sense of shared experience. Sticky desserts dominated the experience. Honey-drenched cakes, fig rolls, date pastes, and sesame clusters provided not only flavor but also energy for work, play, and travel. These portable, indulgent snacks were carried by laborers, children, travelers, and priests alike, bridging the gap between sustenance and delight. Each bite was a small, sticky celebration of creativity and taste, enjoyed amidst the lively backdrop of bustling streets and communal spaces. Humorous mishaps were everywhere. A dropped honey cake could send children into a chase, while a sticky fig might adhere to a vendor's robe, prompting laughter from onlookers. Even the most careful snackers occasionally got caught in this sweet chaos, reminding everyone that indulgence in ancient Egypt was often playful, interactive, and delightfully messy. The interplay of children's antics, sticky desserts, temple feasts, exotic ingredients, and market adventures paints a vivid picture of ancient Egyptian snacking culture. It wasn't just about sustenance, it was about play, sensory delight, community bonding, and moments of shared laughter. Every spill, every sticky finger, Every runaway treat contributed to a living, breathing culture of enjoyment. By the time twilight settles, streets, courtyards, temples, and palaces are marked with evidence of indulgence. Crumbs, sticky patches, and laughter echoing in the distance. Children tuck into the last of their treats, adults smile at the joyful chaos, and vendors pack away what remains, already planning tomorrow's offerings. Junk food in ancient Egypt wasn't merely about calories or nourishment. It was a celebration of life, play, creativity, and shared delight. A sticky testament to the timeless human love of snacks. From children darting after fig rolls, to temple feasts laden with honey cakes, from exotic ingredients to market adventures, every layer of ancient Egyptian snacking culture reflects a society that valued indulgence, play, and communal joy. Sticky, sweet, and sometimes unusual treats provided nourishment, entertainment, and a sense of connection, making every snack a small but memorable adventure. As night deepens over the Nile, ancient Egyptian streets continued to thrum with life. Festival indulgences, sticky snacks, and playful chaos fill the air with laughter, aroma, and sensory delight. Imagine children darting through alleys, clutching honey-drenched fig rolls, vendors balancing trays of roasted nuts, and adults smiling at the unpredictable dance of snacks, spills, and sticky hands. Every corner of the city seems alive with both flavor and fun, a testament to how deeply snacking was woven into daily life. Festival indulgences were grand affairs. Streets and temple courtyards overflowed with giant honey cakes, sticky date rolls, sesame clusters, and fried fritters, all portioned for communal enjoyment. Families, children, and travelers alike joined in, grabbing pieces, trading bites, and laughing at the inevitable mess. Honey dripped onto sandaled feet, crumbs scattered across dusty paths, and the air was thick with aroma mix of sweet, nutty, and slightly spiced scents. Every mishap, from a dropped cake to a runaway fig, became part of the collective joy. Street chaos added a dynamic layer to these indulgences. Vendors called out with rhythmic chants, enticing passers-by with sticky delights. Honey cakes stuck together, figs tumbled from trays, and roasted nuts spilled across sandy streets. Children chased treats with glee, adults navigated the sticky mess with amusement, and even pets occasionally joined the fun. It was a living theater of food, laughter, and play, where every sticky finger and scattered crumb added to the lively atmosphere. Royal treats provided a more luxurious contrast. Pharaohs and high-ranking nobles enjoyed trays of gold-gilded honey cakes, intricately shaped fig rolls, and roasted nuts sprinkled with exotic spices. Even within the grandeur of palaces, playful indulgence was present. Children might sneak bites, attendants might juggle trays, and minor spills or sticky fingers added charm to an otherwise formal setting. These treats weren't just about flavor, they were symbols of status, creativity, and sensory delight. Sticky snacks dominated every corner of life. Honey-drenched cakes, fig pastes, date rolls, and sesame clusters weren't merely eaten, they were experienced. The sweet, chewy, and crunchy textures, combined with aromatic scents, created multi-sensory moments. Each bite carried energy for work, play, or travel, and also offered a small thrill of indulgence. Children, adults, nobles, and laborers alike reveled in these flavors, blurring social boundaries through the shared joy of food. Playful interactions were a constant companion to indulgence. Children raced for the largest honey cakes, vendors tossed small samples into eager hands, and families shared portions while laughing at sticky fingers and spilled crumbs. Even the most mundane snack became a story, a game, or a sensory adventure. Sticky treats, playful chaos, and communal engagement were inseparable aspects of ancient Egyptian culinary culture. Festival indulgences weren't confined to the streets. Temple offerings, palace banquets, and public celebrations all involved layered experiences of flavor, aroma, and interaction. Honey cakes, shaped like gods, sticky fig rolls infused with aromatic herbs, roasted nuts, and fried fritters were distributed to worshippers, guests, and workers alike. Each treat was both nourishment and entertainment, combining taste with tactile engagement and playful delight. Exotic ingredients added intrigue and flavor. Honey, dates, figs, sesame seeds, and nuts were common, but rare spices, fragrant oils, and preserved fruits occasionally transformed ordinary treats into memorable experiences. Imagine a child biting into a honeyed fig roll with an unexpected hint of spice, eyes widening in surprise and delight, while parents and neighbors looked on with amusement. Each bite was a journey through flavor, culture, and creativity. By the end of the festival, streets, courtyards, and palace halls bore the delightful evidence of indulgence: sticky hands, scattered crumbs, honey dripped onto sandaled feet, and laughter still echoing in the distance. Ancient Egyptian junk food wasn't merely about sustenance, it was a living, playful, and sensory-rich tradition. Every spill, bite, and sticky finger contributed to a culture that celebrated indulgence, creativity, and shared joy. From festival indulgences to street chaos, royal treats, sticky snacks, sensory delights, and playful interactions, the culture of snacking in ancient Egypt shows a timeless truth: food is as much about connection, fun, and sensory pleasure as it is about nourishment. Honey cakes, fig rolls, date pastes, fritters, and roasted nuts weren't just eaten, they were experienced, shared, and celebrated across streets, temples, and palaces alike. As the moon rises over the Nile, the city glows with the soft light of torches and the lingering aroma of festival indulgences and sticky sweets. Ancient Egyptian streets, courtyards, and palace corridors are alive with activity. Children chase runaway fig rolls, vendors balance trays of honey cakes, and the air carries the combined scent of roasted nuts, sweet fritters, and fragrant herbs. Every corner hums with playful energy, proving that snacking was both entertainment and nourishment. Temple sweets remain a central part of the sensory tapestry. Honeyed cakes shaped like scarabs, figs rolled into precise bundles, and sesame clusters, sprinkled with fragrant herbs, were prepared as offerings and distributed to worshippers. Children often watched curiously, sneaking small bites when the adults' attention drifted. Priests moved carefully, balancing trays of sticky treats while navigating throngs of eager festival-goers. Even minor mishaps, like a dropped honey cake or spilled roasted nuts, became part of the ceremonial joy. Blending ritual with playful indulgence, exotic flavors elevated these snacks from simple treats to memorable sensory experiences. Honey, dates, figs, sesame seeds, and nuts were common, but fragrant oils, rare herbs, and preserved fruits sometimes made their way into cakes and fritters. A child biting into a sticky fig roll infused with subtle spice, or a honey cake dotted with preserved fruit, would often pause in surprise, savoring the unexpected taste. Adults and fellow children alike observed with amusement, sharing the delight and laughter that came with each unique flavor. Children's play was inseparable from snacking. Tiny hands reached for sticky figs, honey cakes, and roasted nuts, while friends and siblings competed for the last morsel. Laughter filled streets and courtyards, blending with the rhythmic calls of vendors and the soft clatter of palace kitchens. Even pets joined in. Cats leaped at stray figs, dogs chased rolling fritters, and birds pecked at scattered crumbs. Every snack became part of a living, interactive performance of taste, texture, and delight. Palace kitchens were hubs of both efficiency and creativity. Servants and bakers prepared vast quantities of sticky sweets, honey cakes, fritters, roasted nuts, and exotic delicacies for banquets, festivals, and daily indulgence. Trays of golden honey cakes were carefully carried through grand halls, children occasionally sneaking bites when the attendants' eyes were elsewhere. Aromas of roasting, baking, and sticky sweetness mingled with laughter, creating an environment that was both orderly and playful. Market energy persisted well into the evening. Vendors displayed sticky treats with flair, tossing samples to eager buyers and calling out to attract attention. Honey cakes stuck together, figs tumbled from trays, and roasted nuts spilled onto sandy streets, prompting chases, laughter, and playful bargaining. Adults navigated the chaos with amusement. Children darted between stalls, and even nobles occasionally joined in, enjoying the sticky, sweet, sensory-rich delights. Festival indulgences wove together these various threads. Streets, temples, and palaces all offered sticky sweets, honey-drenched cakes, roasted nuts, and fritters, creating a living, breathing tapestry of flavor, aroma, and playful chaos. Families shared treats, children competed for the largest pieces, and minor mishaps Figs, sticky hands, or toppled trays became part of the communal experience. Snacking was interactive, entertaining, and deeply connected to social life. Sticky mishaps were a charming constant. Honey dripped onto robes, crumbs scattered across sandy paths, and runaway treats sparked mini-chases among children and pets. Even in palace kitchens, minor spills or sticky fingers elicited laughter, proof that indulgence was as much about play and connection as it was about flavor. These moments highlight a culture that valued shared joy, sensory delight, and playful indulgence. By the end of the evening, streets, temples, and palaces bore the evidence of indulgence. Sticky hands, scattered crumbs, spilled honey, and lingering laughter. Ancient Egyptian junk food wasn't merely about sustenance, it was a celebration of creativity, sensory experience, community bonding, and playful chaos. Every bite, spill, and sticky finger contributed to a culture that loved indulgence, humor, and shared delight. From temple sweets and exotic flavors to children's play, palace kitchens, and market energy, the ancient Egyptian approach to snacking reminds us of a timeless truth. Food is as much about connection, entertainment, and sensory delight as it is about nourishment. Honey cakes, fig rolls, date pastes, fritters, and roasted nuts weren't just consumed, they were experienced, shared, and celebrated across every corner of society. As the city glows under the soft light of torches and the moon, the streets of ancient Egypt remain alive with festival treats, sticky desserts, and playful chaos. Imagine children darting between vendors, honey-drenched figs in tiny hands, roasted nuts spilling across sandy streets, and laughter echoing off mud-brick walls. Every corner, alleyway, and courtyard is a stage for both indulgence and entertainment, where the act of snacking is as much about joy and social interaction as it is about flavor. Festival treats dominate this sensory playground. Giant honey cakes, sticky fig rolls, sesame clusters, and fried fritters are sliced, bundled, and distributed to families, travelers, and festival goers. Children compete for the largest pieces. Parents laugh at the inevitable sticky mess, and even the occasional pet joins the scramble. Honey drips onto sandaled feet, crumbs scatter across dusty paths, and the air is thick with aroma mix of sweet, nutty, and subtly spiced scents. Minor mishaps, like a runaway fig roll or a dropped cake, only enhance the communal joy. Street chaos adds dynamic energy to these indulgences. Vendors balance trays of sticky treats, calling out to attract buyers while keeping an eye on playful children and curious pets. Honey cakes stick together, figs tumble from trays, and roasted nuts spill across bustling alleys. Children chase treats with glee, adults navigate the mess with amusement, and even nobles occasionally engage, enjoying the lively atmosphere. It's a living theater of taste, texture, and playful interaction. Royal indulgences offer a luxurious contrast to the chaos of the streets. Pharaohs and high-ranking nobles enjoy gold-gilded honey cakes, intricately shaped fig rolls, roasted nuts sprinkled with exotic spices, and honeyed fritters artfully arranged on trays. Even in the grandeur of palace life, playful indulgence is present. Children sneak bites, attendants juggle trays, and minor spills or sticky fingers add charm to otherwise formal occasions. These treats are more than flavor, they're symbols of status, creativity, and multisensory enjoyment. Children's antics are inseparable from snacking culture. Tiny hands reach for sticky figs, honey cakes, and roasted nuts while friends and siblings compete for the last morsel. Pets leap for stray treats, and laughter fills streets and courtyards. Every snack becomes part of a living, interactive performance, where taste, texture, and play merge into a joyful sensory experience. Festival indulgences, street chaos, and royal treats converge during public celebrations. Temples, marketplaces, and palace courtyards overflow with honey cakes, sticky fig rolls, roasted nuts, and fried fritters. Families share treats, children compete for pieces, and minor mishaps, sticky hands, dropped cakes, spilled nuts become part of the communal enjoyment. Snacking is interactive, entertaining, and central to social life, connecting people across ages and social classes. Sensory experiences are heightened by exotic flavors. Honey, dates, figs, sesame seeds, and nuts are common, but fragrant oils, rare herbs, and preserved fruits occasionally add surprises. Imagine a child biting into a honeyed fig roll infused with subtle spice, eyes widening in delight, as parents and neighbors observe with amusement. Each flavor becomes a small adventure, a blend of taste, texture, and playful discovery. Sticky mishaps continue to charm. Honey drips onto robes, crumbs scatter across streets, and runaway treats prompt playful chases. Even in palace kitchens and temple courtyards, minor spills and sticky fingers elicit laughter, showing that indulgence was always intertwined with joy, interaction, and community. By the late evening, the streets, courtyards, and palaces are marked with evidence of indulgence. Sticky hands, scattered crumbs, dripped honey, and lingering laughter. Ancient Egyptian junk food wasn't merely nourishment, it was a living, playful tradition. Every bite, spill, and sticky finger contributed to a culture that celebrated creativity, communal joy, and sensory indulgence. From festival treats and street chaos to royal indulgences, children's antics, and communal enjoyment, ancient Egyptian snacking culture reminds us of a timeless truth. Food is about connection, fun, and sensory delight as much as it is about flavor and sustenance. Honey cakes, fig rolls, date pastes, fritters, and roasted nuts weren't just consumed, they were shared, experienced, and celebrated across streets, temples, and palaces alike. As night deepens and the moon casts its silver glow over the Nile, the streets, temples, and palaces of ancient Egypt are still alive with a rich chaos of food, flavor, and playful indulgence. Sticky honey cakes, roasted nuts, fig rolls, and fritters continued to travel from vendors' hands to children, adults, and nobles alike, creating a tapestry of laughter, spills, and sensory delight that stretches from bustling markets to royal corridors. Palace banquets are grand spectacles of indulgence. Attendants carry trays of gilded honey cakes, intricately shaped fig rolls, sesame clusters, and fried fritters through long halls adorned with carved pillars and painted murals. Even amidst such luxury, sticky mishaps occur. A runaway cake rolls across polished floors, a honey-dripped finger smudges a noble's robe, and children sneak bites with gleeful stealth. The atmosphere balances grandeur with playful chaos, reminding everyone that indulgence is best enjoyed with laughter. Street markets remain energetic hubs of snack culture. Vendors balance trays of sticky treats on their heads, calling out to passers-by, tossing small samples to children, and occasionally chasing a runaway fig roll. Honey cakes stick together, roasted nuts spill, and fritters tumble from trays, but each mishap is welcomed with smiles and chuckles. Children dart between stalls, pets chase stray morsels, and adults navigate the sticky chaos with amused patience. The markets are living theaters where flavor, texture, and humor intertwine. Temple offerings contribute to the communal experience of snacking. Priests distribute honeyed cakes shaped like gods, sticky fig rolls, and sesame clusters to worshippers during festivals and ceremonies. Children watch with fascination, occasionally sneaking bites when the adult's attention drifts, and even minor spills become part of the joy. These moments blend religious ritual with everyday indulgence, proving that sensory pleasure and playful chaos can coexist beautifully. Festival desserts continue to captivate the senses. Giant honey cakes, date rolls, sesame clusters, and fried fritters are sliced, shared, and enjoyed amidst laughter, playful chases, and sticky fingers. Honey drips onto sandaled feet, crumbs scatter across paths, and the air is thick with aroma. Even small pet cats, dogs, and birds participate in the edible adventure, creating scenes that are chaotic yet charming. Every spill and sticky hand adds to the immersive, interactive experience of ancient Egyptian snacking culture. Playful adventures abound as children chase runaway fig rolls, race for the largest honey cakes, and share treats with friends. Adults smile at the sticky chaos, vendors adjust trays with practiced skill, and even nobles occasionally join the fun. Sticky mishaps, sweet surprises, and unexpected flavors make each snack a miniature adventure in taste, texture, and social interaction. Exotic ingredients continue to elevate the experience. Honey, dates, figs, sesame seeds, and nuts are staples, but rare herbs, fragrant oils, and preserved fruits occasionally surprise the palate, turning ordinary snacks into extraordinary treats. Imagine a child biting into a honey-drenched fig roll infused with aromatic spices, eyes widening in delight, while neighbors observe and share in the sensory experience. Each bite is a small journey, full of flavor, humor, and communal joy. By the late evening, the evidence of indulgence is everywhere. Sticky hands, scattered crumbs, spilled honey, and lingering laughter fill streets, temples, and palace corridors. Ancient Egyptian junk food isn't simply nourishment, it's a celebration of creativity, playfulness, sensory engagement, and social connection. Every spill, bite, and sticky finger contributes to a culture that delights in indulgence, humor, and shared enjoyment. From palace banquets and street markets to temple offerings, festival deserts, sticky mishaps, and playful adventures, ancient Egyptian snacking culture demonstrates a timeless truth. Food is as much about connection, joy, and sensory delight as it is about sustenance. Honey cakes, fig rolls, date pastes, fritters, and roasted nuts weren't just consumed, they were experienced, shared, and celebrated across the city. From bustling streets to sacred temples and royal halls, as night stretches deeper over the Nile, the city remains a vibrant hub of community indulgence and playful chaos. Sticky honey cakes, roasted nuts, fig rolls, and fried fritters continue to travel from vendor to child, from parent to neighbor, creating a living tapestry of laughter, spills, and sensory delight. Every corner, street, and courtyard hums with energy, proving that snacking in ancient Egypt was not just about sustenance, it was about connection, entertainment, and shared enjoyment. Community indulgence is at its peak during festivals and temple celebrations. Families, neighbors, and travelers gather to share giant honey cakes, sticky date rolls, sesame clusters, and fried fritters. Children chase after runaway treats, adults exchange bites and stories, and even pets join in, leaping for crumbs or sniffing out hidden morsels. Honey drips onto sandaled feet, sticky hands smudge robes, and laughter echoes off mud brick walls. Each spill, each sticky finger, each runaway snack adds to the communal joy. Royal treats continue to provide a luxurious contrast. Pharaohs and nobles enjoy gold-gilded honey cakes, intricately shaped fig rolls, roasted nuts sprinkled with exotic spices, and fried fritters arranged on ornate trays. Even in the grandeur of palaces, playful indulgence persists. Children sneak bites, attendants juggle trays, and minor spills create moments of amusement. These treats symbolize status, creativity, and sensory pleasure, blending refinement with the universal delight of sticky sweets. Market hilarity brings additional energy to the evening. Vendors display trays of sticky snacks with flair, calling out to attract buyers, tossing samples to eager children, and occasionally chasing a runaway cake or fig roll. Honey cakes stick together, figs tumble from trays, and roasted nuts spill across dusty streets, prompting playful chases and laughter from all ages. The markets become living theaters of taste, texture, and humor, where indulgence and entertainment go hand in hand. Children's antics remain a constant source of joy. Tiny hands grab sticky figs, honey cakes, and roasted nuts, racing with friends to see who can snag the largest piece. Pets dart between legs, chasing runaway morsels, while adults navigate the playful chaos with amusement. Every snack, every spill, and every sticky finger becomes part of a shared story, a moment of communal delight woven into the sensory fabric of the city. Sensory delight is everywhere. The sweet aroma of honey, the chewiness of figs, the crunch of sesame seeds, and the warmth of fried fritters fill streets, courtyards, and palace halls. Every bite offers energy, flavor, and enjoyment, transforming even simple snacks into memorable experiences. Exotic ingredients, rare herbs, fragrant oils, and preserved fruits add occasional surprises, turning ordinary moments into miniature adventures for the palate. Sticky chaos intertwines with social interaction. Honey drips onto robes, crumbs scatter across sandy streets, and runaway snacks provoke laughter and playful chases. Even in royal kitchens and temple courtyards, minor spills elicit smiles and chuckles, proving that indulgence in ancient Egypt was deeply connected to play, humor, and communal experience. By the end of the evening, evidence of indulgence is everywhere. Sticky hands, scattered crumbs, spilled honey, and lingering laughter fill streets, temples, and palaces. Junk food in ancient Egypt wasn't merely about nourishment, it was a celebration of creativity, sensory engagement, humor, and social connection. Every spill, every bite, and every sticky finger contributed to a culture that valued indulgence and shared delight. From community indulgence and sticky chaos to royal treats, market hilarity, children's antics, and sensory delight, ancient Egyptian snacking culture proves a timeless truth. Food is as much about connection, joy, and playful experience as it is about sustenance. Honey cakes, fig rolls, date pastes, fritters, and roasted nuts weren't simply eaten, they were shared, celebrated, and woven into the daily lives of the people across streets, temples, and palaces alike. As the city settles deeper into night, the energy of festival chaos, sticky desserts, and playful antics continues to ripple through streets, courtyards, and palace halls. Vendors, children, and adults alike are immersed in a lively dance of snacks, spills, and laughter, proving that ancient Egyptian snacking culture was as much about entertainment and communal joy as it was about sustenance. Festival chaos reaches its peak in bustling marketplaces and temple courtyards. Giant honey cakes, sticky fig rolls, sesame clusters, and fried fritters are distributed for communal enjoyment. Children chase runaway treats, neighbors exchange bites, and pets leap after crumbs, creating a living, playful theater of indulgence. Honey drips onto sandaled feet, sticky hands smear robes, and laughter echoes across the streets. Each spill, each runaway fig, and each sticky finger becomes part of a shared sensory experience. Palace kitchens remain hubs of both efficiency and creativity. Servants and bakers prepare vast quantities of sticky desserts for banquets, festivals, and daily enjoyment. Trays of golden honey cakes glide across polished floors. Fig rolls balance precariously in the hands of attendants, and the aroma of roasted nuts, honey, and fragrant herbs fills the air. Even amidst order and discipline, playful mishaps occur. A dropped cake, a smudged tray, or a child sneaking a taste adds charm and amusement to the grandeur. Street antics continue to fuel the lively atmosphere. Children dash between stalls and courtyards, sticky hands reaching for figs, honey cakes, and fritters. Vendors toss small samples to entice eager buyers, while pets chase runaway morsels, and adults navigate the chaos with amused patience. Honey cakes stick together, roasted nuts spill, and fig rolls tumble. But these minor mishaps only enhance the playful energy of the streets. Sticky desserts dominate every scene. Honey-drenched cakes, date rolls, fig pastes, sesame clusters, and fried fritters provide multi-sensory delight, combining sweetness, chewiness, crunch, and aroma. Every bite offers energy for work, play, or travel, and even the smallest treat carries the thrill of indulgence. Exotic ingredients, rare herbs, fragrant oils, and preserved fruits occasionally transform ordinary sweets into remarkable adventures for the palate. Children's mischief adds an extra layer of charm. Tiny hands grab sticky figs and honey cakes, racing with friends to snag the largest pieces. Pets leap after stray morsels. Playful arguments erupt over the last sesame cluster, and adults navigate the sticky chaos with amused smiles. Every spill, sticky finger, and runaway treat contributes to the immersive experience, making snacking both interactive and entertaining. Sensory indulgence extends beyond taste. The aroma of honey, the texture of figs, the warmth of fried fritters, and the sight of colorful treats arranged on trays create memorable, multi-sensory experiences. Each bite engages not only the tongue but also the eyes, hands, and imagination. Eating is a joyful, playful act, deeply intertwined with community life, family gatherings, and festive celebrations. By the late evening, evidence of indulgence is everywhere. Crumbs scattered across streets, sticky hands, dripped honey, and lingering laughter fill marketplaces, temples, and palaces. Ancient Egyptian junk food wasn't just nourishment, it was a celebration of creativity, humor, community, and sensory delight. Every bite, spill, and playful mishap contributed to a culture that treasured indulgence and shared joy. From festival chaos in palace kitchens to street antics, sticky desserts, children's mischief, and sensory indulgence, ancient Egyptian snacking culture demonstrates a timeless truth. Food is as much about connection, joy, and playful experience as it is about sustenance. Honey cakes, fig rolls, date pastes, fritters, and roasted nuts weren't simply consumed, they were celebrated, shared, and woven into the everyday life of the city. As night deepens further over the Nile, the city pulses with royal banquets, street markets, temple treats, and playful chaos. Sticky desserts, roasted nuts, honey-drenched cakes, and fig rolls flow from hands to mouths, from stalls to courtyards, creating a living tapestry of laughter, sensory delight, and shared indulgence. Ancient Egyptian snacking culture thrived on both flavor and play, proving that every treat carried a story, a moment of joy, and a playful adventure. Royal banquets are elaborate celebrations of taste, presentation, and social engagement. Attendants carry gold-gilded honey cakes, intricately shaped fig rolls, sesame clusters, and fried fritters on trays through grand halls adorned with painted murals and polished columns. Even amidst such opulence, playful chaos persists. A child sneaks a bite, a tray wobbles precariously, or honey drips onto polished floors, prompting laughter from nobles and attendants alike. Every sticky mishap becomes part of the charm, showing that indulgence was as much about joy as it was about luxury. Street markets hum with life, energy, and sticky hilarity. Vendors balance trays stacked high with honey cakes, fig rolls, sesame clusters, and fried fritters, calling out in rhythmic chants to attract customers. Children dart between stalls, eager to grab runaway treats. Pets chase stray morsels, and adults navigate the playful chaos with amused patience. Honey drips, crumbs scatter, and fig rolls tumble, but every minor mishap adds to the immersive and interactive experience of market life. Temple treats add a sacred layer to the sensory adventure. Priests distribute honeyed cakes shaped like gods, sticky fig rolls, and roasted nuts during festivals and ceremonies. Children watch curiously, occasionally sneaking bites, while adults and worshippers share smiles at minor spills. These moments merge religious devotion with communal indulgence, showing that even sacred spaces embrace the playful, sticky delight of ancient Egyptian snacks. Playful chaos is omnipresent. Children chase after runaway treats, argue over the largest honey cake, and share morsels with friends. Pets join in, leaping at crumbs and chasing fig rolls, while adults smile at the sticky, joyous disorder. Every spill, every sticky finger, and every runaway snack becomes a shared story, a fleeting memory of laughter and indulgence. Sensory surprises abound in every bite. Honey-drenched cakes, chewy figs, roasted nuts, sesame clusters, and fried fritters engage multiple senses simultaneously. Exotic ingredients, rare herbs, fragrant oils, and preserved fruits elevate ordinary snacks into delightful surprises. Imagine a child biting into a fig roll infused with unexpected spice, eyes widening in wonder, while neighbors watch and share in the sensory delight. Every flavor, texture, and aroma contributes to the immersive, playful world of ancient Egyptian snacking. Sticky mishaps continue to charm both children and adults. Honey drips onto robes, crumbs scatter across sandy streets, and runaway morsels spark laughter-filled chases. Even in royal palaces and temple courtyards, minor accidents evoke amusement, proving that indulgence was inseparable from play, interaction, and communal enjoyment. By late night, the streets, courtyards, temples, and palaces are filled with evidence of indulgence. Sticky hands, scattered crumbs, dripped honey, and lingering laughter. Ancient Egyptian junk food wasn't merely about nourishment, it was a celebration of creativity, sensory delight, playful interaction, and social connection. Every bite, spill, and sticky finger added to a culture that cherished indulgence and shared joy. From royal banquets and street markets to temple treats, playful chaos, children's antics, and sensory surprises, ancient Egyptian snacking culture demonstrates a timeless truth. Food is as much about joy, connection, and playful experience as it is about sustenance. Honey cakes, fig rolls, date pastes, fritters, and roasted nuts weren't simply eaten, they were experienced, shared, and celebrated across streets, palaces, and temples alike. As night blankets the city along the Nile, the festival indulgences and sticky desserts of ancient Egypt continue to fill streets, courtyards, temples, and palaces with laughter, aroma, and playful chaos. Honey-drenched cakes, chewy fig rolls, roasted nuts, sesame clusters, and fried fritters travel from vendor to child, from neighbor to noble, creating a living tapestry of sensory delight, communal joy, and mischievous play. Every corner hums with energy, showing that snacking was both nourishment and entertainment. Festival indulgences remain at the heart of city life. Giant honey cakes, sticky fig rolls, sesame clusters, and fried fritters are shared among families, friends, and travelers. Children chase after runaway treats, pets leap at scattered morsels, and adults navigate the sticky chaos with amused smiles. Honey drips onto sandaled feet, sticky hands smear robes, and laughter echoes across dusty streets, making every spill and sticky finger part of the shared experience. Palace kitchens continue to be hubs of efficiency, creativity, and playful mishaps. Servants and bakers prepare trays of golden honey cakes, fig rolls, sesame clusters, and fried fritters for royal banquets and daily enjoyment. Aromas of honey, roasted nuts, and fragrant herbs mingle with the sounds of laughter and chatter. Even in this orderly environment, playful incidents occur. A child sneaks a bite, a tray wobbles, or honey drips onto polished floors. These moments of chaos only add charm to the grandeur of palace life. Market energy thrives late into the evening. Vendors balance trays of sticky treats, calling out to attract buyers while keeping an eye on playful children and wandering pets. Honey cakes stick together, roasted nuts spill, and figs tumble from trays, prompting chases, laughter, and small games of skill and patience. The markets become living theaters of taste, touch, and amusement, where indulgence, sensory pleasure, and community engagement coexist seamlessly. Children's antics add an essential layer of joy. Tiny hands reach for sticky figs and honey cakes, racing friends for the largest morsels. Pets dart between legs, chasing runaway treats, and minor disputes over shared snacks result in playful giggles. Every spill, sticky finger, and stolen bite is woven into the rich fabric of communal enjoyment, reinforcing the deeply social nature of snacking in ancient Egypt. Sticky deserts dominate every scene, offering multi-sensory delight. The chew of figs, the sweetness of honey, the crunch of sesame seeds, and the warmth of fried fritters engage multiple senses simultaneously. Exotic ingredients, rare herbs, fragrant oils, and preserved fruits sometimes elevate ordinary treats into remarkable sensory experiences. Each bite delivers nourishment, flavor, and a playful sense of adventure. Festival indulgences extend beyond mere consumption. Families, friends, travelers, and even nobles share treats across streets, courtyards, temples, and palaces. Laughter, spilled crumbs, and sticky fingers form an essential part of the immersive experience. Playful chaos, sensory delight, and communal joy are inseparable, showing that ancient Egyptian junk food was as much about connection, fun, and celebration as it was about taste. By late night, the city bears evidence of indulgence everywhere. Sticky hands, scattered crumbs, dripped honey, and lingering laughter fill streets, markets, temple courtyards, and palace halls. Junk food in ancient Egypt wasn't simply about sustenance, it was a vibrant celebration of creativity, sensory engagement, playful interaction, and shared enjoyment. Every spill, bite, and sticky finger contributed to a culture that cherished indulgence, laughter, and communal delight. From festival indulgences and sticky desserts to palace kitchens, market energy, children's antics, and communal joy, ancient Egyptian snacking culture reveals a timeless truth. Food is as much about connection, playful experience, and sensory delight as it is about nourishment. Honey cakes, fig rolls, date pastes, fritters, and roasted nuts weren't simply consumed, they were shared, celebrated, and woven into the daily lives of people across streets, temples, and palaces alike. As the city drifts deeper into night, the world of ancient Egyptian snacking remains alive with temple ceremonies, bustling streets, royal indulgences, and sticky little mishaps that tie everything together. No matter whether you're a priest in a sacred courtyard, a vendor balancing trays in a noisy street, or a noble lounging in polished marble halls, The rhythm of the evening is filled with the aromas of honey, figs, roasted nuts, and sesame crunch. And with every bite comes not just flavor, but also laughter, spills, and connection. Temple ceremonies carry both solemnity and sweetness. Priests hand out honey cakes shaped like sacred animals, fig rolls pressed with divine symbols, and sesame treats sprinkled with fragrant herbs. Worshippers receive them reverently, though sometimes reverence is interrupted by small accidents. A honey cake slipping from a child's hand, a fig roll tumbling into the sand, or sesame seeds scattering across polished stone floors. Instead of ruining the moment, these accidents bring smiles, soft chuckles, and a reminder that even in sacred spaces, food had a playful, human side. Meanwhile, the streets are a theater of sticky chaos and noisy joy. Vendors call out in rhythmic tones, balancing trays piled high with golden cakes, sticky fig rolls, and fried fritters. Children race between stalls, pets dart beneath legs, and laughter fills the warm night air. Crumbs scatter, honey drips, and figs roll into the dust, but each mishap adds to the interactive comedy of marketplace life. A performance enjoyed by sellers, buyers, and passers-by alike. Royal indulgences paint a different picture. Within palace walls, noble families and pharaohs enjoy delicately prepared honey-drenched cakes, intricately braided fig rolls, roasted nuts dusted with imported spices, and fritters glistening with oils. The flavors are richer, the presentation more refined, but even here, playful chaos sneaks in. Children sneak bites from trays, servants juggle precariously heavy platters, and once in a while, a honey drip mars a perfectly polished floor. Laughter softens the formality, reminding even the highest in the land that indulgence is as much about fun as it is about flavor. Sticky mishaps continue to connect all corners of society. In temples, palaces, and streets alike, honey clings to fingers, sesame seeds scatter like tiny jewels, and fig paste leaves cheerful smudges on cheeks and robes. Pets happily lick at spills, children giggle at runaway fritters, and adults shake their heads with good-natured amusement. What could be frustrating turns instead into another layer of shared joy and sensory memory. Children's laughter ties the entire scene together. From temples to markets to palaces, tiny voices carry the soundtrack of the night. Sticky fingers reaching for honey cakes, playful arguments over the largest fig roll, joyful squeals at catching runaway snacks. All of it builds into a universal chorus of delight. For children, every treat is not just food, it's an adventure, a game, and a moment to remember. Sensory delight heightens the experience. The warm glow of torchlight on golden honey, the chewy tug of dried figs, the satisfying crunch of roasted nuts, and the rich smell of fried fritters create a feast for the senses. Eating in ancient Egypt wasn't a quiet or solitary act, it was noisy, playful, and vividly alive. Every bite carried with it not just taste but the memory of place, people, and moment. By the time the stars scatter fully across the sky, the evidence of indulgence lies everywhere. Sticky trails of honey, sesame seeds sparkling in the dust, fig smudges on robes, and echoes of laughter still lingering in the night air. Junk food in ancient Egypt wasn't only about filling the stomach, it was about creating stories, binding communities, and celebrating life with humor, chaos, and sweetness. From temple ceremonies and street chaos to royal indulgences, sticky mishaps, children's laughter, and sensory delight, ancient Egyptian snacking culture shows us a timeless truth. Food isn't just eaten, it's lived, shared, and remembered. Every honey cake, every fig roll, every crumb told a story, one that tied people together across spaces sacred, ordinary, and royal. And so, as the night in ancient Egypt finally quiets down, the energy of the day's sticky chaos, festival indulgences, and royal treats begins to fade into a gentle hush. The torches burned lower, the streets grow emptier, and even the vendors who only hours earlier were juggling trays of honey, cakes, and shouting over one another, are packing up what little is left. A few sesame seeds sparkle faintly in the sand, like stars fallen to earth. Crumbs scatter across courtyards, and the faint aroma of fried fritters lingers in the warm night air. Families retreat into their homes, children sticky-fingered and sleepy after chasing runaway figs and sneaking too many bites of sesame clusters. Their laughter, so loud just moments ago, now drifts into drowsy murmurs as eyelids grow heavy. Even the pets, once darting around after crumbs and tumbling fritters, curl up quietly in corners, bellies full, tails twitching with the soft dreams of food. The noisy clamor of the city slows into a comforting rhythm, gentle, steady, like the Nile itself flowing under the stars. In the temples, the last of the offerings are cleared. Priests tidy away trays once piled high with sacred honey cakes and fig rolls, leaving behind only the faint sweetness of incense and bread. In palaces, noble families retire from banquets, the trays of golden cakes and fragrant nuts carried away by yawning servants who are more than ready for their own beds. Even Pharaoh himself, draped in silks and gold, cannot resist the pull of sleep after one too many indulgent bites of honey and dates. Everywhere, the stories of the day linger, like crumbs not on plates, but in memory. A spilled honey cake in a temple courtyard, a child giggling as sesame seeds rain down from a tray, a noble laughing softly at the sticky fingers of his own son. These little moments, humble, messy, sweet, show us that food in ancient Egypt was more than fuel. It was a way of sharing life, of connecting across class and space, of celebrating even in small, chaotic ways. And perhaps that is why their so-called junk food feels so timeless. Because when you strip away the pyramids, the monuments, and the solemn statues, you find people who were not so different from US people who loved a midnight snack, who laughed when honey dripped down their hands, who turned eating into an adventure, a story, a piece of joy to be remembered. Now the city lies quiet, the stars scattered bright over the desert, the Nile moving endlessly onward. The sticky hands have been washed, the crumbs brushed away, the laughter tucked into dreams. Ancient Egypt sleeps at last, wrapped in the warmth of its own memories, its own flavors, its own small joys. And as you, listening now, drift slowly toward sleep, maybe you to carry a little of their world with youth, the sweetness of honey, the crunch of sesame, the laughter of children, the comfort of food shared under torchlight. It's a gentle reminder that across time, across thousands of years, humans have always found delight in the little things, in snacks, in stories, and in each other. So close your eyes, let the crumbs of today's worries scatter away, and rest. For just as the ancient Egyptians did, you too deserve to drift off full of warmth, laughter, and just a touch of sweetness. Good night.